Okay, let's talk about layer masks. I have layer mask 01 here, and I have layer mask 02 here. And let's go back to layer mask 01. Now, of the various different things I'm going to show you here, layer masks are probably the thing that's going to confuse you the most. It can take a bit of time to get to know how to use them, and also there is a classic mistake which people make with layer masks all the time, including me. But I'll explain to you the concept, and then I'll show you the classic mistake. So, I have this picture of my son at an aquarium, and let's face it, it would be a better picture if there was an animal in there for him to take a look at. So, come to layer mask 02. Oh look, an animal for him to look at, a shark. Now I have my freehand selection tool selected. I'm in mode new, that's good, so I will just drag out an outline around the shark and let go. Then I will press Ctrl or Command plus C to copy it. I will come back to my layer mask 01 file, and I'll press Ctrl or Command plus V to paste it in place. Let's come to my move tool, and I will move it to where I want it to go. Let's say about, say, there, do you reckon? Yeah, about there. All right, there's my masterpiece. And I'm thinking I could improve it slightly by getting rid of a little bit more of the background from that shark. Because to the trained professional eye like mine, it does look a little bit like we've had one picture stuck on top of another. Your first thought might be to, well, we could always reach for the lasso tool, come to polygon mode and start tracing around the outline of the shark like this, and then deleting the bits in the background. Yes, I could do that. Press delete, but suppose I've got that a little bit wrong. Supposing I cut into the shark a bit too much and also the edge is a little bit hard. Well, once that bit of the shark layer is gone, it's gone. I can't bring it back, not with selections. And also it's an all or nothing affair. You see this little highlight on top of the tank where the light is falling on that dome of glass. Maybe I'd like the tip of the shark's fin to be showing just a bit through there, but not too much. Well, I can't do that with selections either. Look, I'm going to press Command or Control plus C to get rid of that, and then Command or Control plus D to get rid of my selection. Instead, I'm going to add a layer mask to this layer. Now, a layer mask does what it says on the tin. It masks out part of the layer. So let's do that. Let's come to our back. Let's rename it so maybe we can have a clear idea of what we're talking about. Shark. So I come to my shark layer and I come down to this icon here where it says mask layer, and I click on it. Look at that, I get something called a mask. This is a layer that sits directly on top of my shark layer, and at the moment you can't see it. That's usual. But if you want to see what it looks like, I will hold down my Alt key on my keyboard and I will click on the actual mask like this. That is what a layer mask starts out as. It's just a series of white pixels. But these are a special kind of white pixels. Instead of just showing a color, they show transparency. And if I click back on my shark layer, here's a little buzz phrase that I want you to remember. White reveals, black conceals, or white gives light. Now what I mean by that is if I come to my paintbrush, and you'll notice up at the top, I have two colors. I have my white color, which is the currently selected color. Also in the background, I have black. I'm going to swap these over by using my X key. That swaps the colors over. So now my main color is black. Now I'm going to zoom in on my shark, select my paintbrush again, and I'm going to set its opacity to 100%. So it's completely opaque. Now, make sure my mask is selected as well. Now look at this. When I paint with black onto my layer mask, it acts like the erase tool. Effectively, I rub out bits of this particular layer like this. Now it may happen that I go, oh, I've gone too far, like that. Now this is one of the beauties of layer masks. If I swap my colors around, so instead of painting with black, I'm painting with white. Let's just do that now. I can paint the contents of this layer back in. So the layer mask is like this magic eraser tool, which affects the whole layer. If I come back to my layer mask, as before, I'll hold down my Alt key and click on the layer mask. You can see that's what I've done. I've painted in these black areas using my brush. And wherever the layer mask is black, the layer it's attached to becomes invisible. That's what's happening here. I will come back to my shark layer and click on it. And you can see, sure enough, these areas are invisible. And can you see, I'm just about to make my classic mistake here. There's my paintbrush. Now it's going to be very obvious what I'm about to do here. I'm thinking, great, I'm going to paint some more on my layer mask, and I paint and oops, I've painted on my actual layer, not my layer mask. Look, if I make my layer mask invisible, I've painted white directly onto my shark layer. That is the classic mistake that people make with layer masks all the time. They think they are painting on the layer mask, but in actual fact, they're painting on the layer, and all they do is put down either black or white directly onto the layer. So let's press Ctrl or Command plus C to get rid of that paint stroke. Click on the layer mask to make sure it is selected. And yeah, now you can see if I do any painting now, I'm painting white onto the layer mask, and so it will become visible at that point. Well, I need to keep on going around this shark and getting rid of the bits in the background of the shark layer. So I will tap X on my keyboard and come around and start painting out the border of this shark like this. Now I'm going to go fairly quickly with this and zoomed out to a fairly wide degree because, well, we're all on the clock. But another nice thing about this is if I hold down my Ctrl plus Alt key on my keyboard and then I press my left mouse button down and drag side to side, I can adjust the size of my brush. I can also drag up and down to adjust the hardness of the brush, so I can get either a hard edge brush or a soft edge brush. And the nice thing about layer masks is, supposing I chose a brush which is, say, this size and this hardness, so it's pretty hard, and I zoom down to this bit here. Let's make it more central. Come back to my brush and I start painting around like this. Well, if you take a look at the edge of the shark against its background, maybe this brush is a bit too hard. And maybe I cut into the shark a bit too much. That hard edge is going to give the game away. It's not a problem. I come and I press Ctrl plus Alt on my keyboard, hold down my left mouse button and adjust the softness of my brush. If you're using a PC, you'll hold down both mouse buttons and drag up and down, or side to side to set your brush. Now, is that more suitable? Yes, I think it is. So let's get rid of a little bit more around here with my nice soft edge brush. Now I did cut into this part, didn't I? So I'll press X to swap my colours around. Now I'm painting with white, so I reveal this part of the layer. Now one thing that can happen is you're not sure where the actual border is, where the shark stops and the background starts. You start shaving a little bit closer to the edge like this, and oh, I don't want to go too far. Don't worry about that. Just happily go right up to the edge like that, knowing full well that you can just press X to swap your colours around and do that. I think what happens with this is that we get used to at school of using an eraser, and if you keep on rubbing out things and adding things back again and rubbing out things and adding things back again, eventually you'll wear out the paper. So we kind of get this mentality of, okay, don't erase too many times. It doesn't work like that. This is digital. You can erase and put things back onto your picture as many times as you want. Hundreds of times, thousands of times, until you get completely bored and give up times. All right, well, look. Okay, I cut it a little bit into that shark's fin there, so I press X, come back, reveal the background again, and just take another stab at it like this. Now, I'm going to be doing more of the same with this. Oh, now look at this. I'm starting to reveal part of my son's head. We're starting to get some real progress. I'll tell you what I'll do. I will pause and come back when I've done most of the outline of the shark, because I'm just doing more of the same at the moment. Okay, I am very nearly there. I think I've gone around the outline. No, okay, let's press Command plus 0 or Control plus 0 to see what I've got. Okay, that is looking better. Oh, and I think I missed a bit just down there. That's not going to look good. It's very nearly there, but there are just one or two places, like, for example, look, if I come and I zoom in on the shark's fin, I've got this, the highlight of the glass. That should go in front of the shark's fin. Because the shark is on the other side of the glass, that highlight would sit in front of the shark. But instead the shark's fin is in front. I don't need that. So here's a little trick for you. Another reason why layer masks are really nice. Come to my paintbrush tool. I'm going to lower my opacity way down. What, 13%? I'm going to make my brush smaller, like this. I'm just tapping my left square bracket key. Okay, I've got black selected. So remember, painting black onto my layer mask is going to make the layer invisible. But because I'm on 13% opacity, I'm going to make this top layer 13% invisible, like this. I'll make my brush a bit bigger and a little bit, well, quite a bit softer. And I'll press Command plus Z to get rid of that, and I'll come back in again. The good thing about this is I can keep on adding brush strokes like this. And I can make this layer visible or invisible to a lesser or greater extent. I kept on adding down brush strokes at an opacity of 13%. So I'm able to gradually make parts of this layer more or less invisible. And you can see I'm doing that. If I press X to swap my colors around, now I'm going to gradually paint white onto my layer. So I gradually reveal parts of the shark's fin like this. I can knock out some of the work that I've already done. Press X again just to do a little bit more touch up. And if I press Command plus 0 to zoom out, you can see how I can very subtly blend in those details. Maybe, in fact, I've just noticed this now. There was something about that tail that was bothering me a little bit. And again, it's this reflection on the glass. Maybe I need to have a little bit of less opacity on this layer at that particular point. Right, so paintbrush selected, make my brush size larger. I want to paint in black on 13%, make it nice and big, and gradually paint in part of this glass area just at this point. It's quite subtle what I've done. Yeah, I prefer that. You're seeing a little bit more of the glass in front and a little bit less of the shark. Sorry, I'm on a bit of a roll now, because there's just one or two bits around here where I haven't quite got rid of all of the darker background, so I'm getting a slightly darker outline there. I don't like that. Let's come to our paintbrush again, make it quite a bit smaller, and I think fairly soft like this, and I'm going to gradually, yeah, I have black selected, I'm going to gradually fade out bits of this top layer just along that outline, which I wasn't quite happy with. Maybe around the nose. Just try and take away a little bit more of that slightly blue outline. It's just helping to blend this whole shark in just a little bit better with the water layer. Okay. Command plus 0 or Control plus 0 to zoom out. Yeah, that's worked. It's helped that shark to blend in just a little bit better. Now, I could keep on going with this. I must admit, I'm on a bit of a roll. Like, for example, I might want to make my brush quite a bit larger like this. I'm on 13% opacity, painting with black, so I just get rid of a little bit more of the shark's detail just around this top area. In fact, it makes sense to do this because that glass is probably not the cleanest glass in the world, so you are going to get the glass interfering with the shark in the background. In fact, I'm going to lower my opacity down even further, down to what? 8%. Make my brush size very large and very soft, and just do, oh, maybe that's a bit too far, so I will swap my brush colors around so now I'm revealing. And that's just helped, oh, maybe on that shark fin as well. I'm sorry, I'm starting to ramble here. Maybe on that shark's fin as well, just a little bit, just to blend the whole image in. Look, I could keep on going, but the whole point of this was to demonstrate layer masks. If I make my layer mask invisible now, you can see all of that shark layer that I pasted in is still there, and I can paint out or paint in any bit I want as much as I like, just by painting white and black onto my layer mask. Let's take a look with the layer mask applied again. Layer masks offer much more flexibility than a straight selection because I can come back in at any point and edit and re-edit this as much as I want. And as you can see, look, I will show you. I will hold down my Alt key and click on the layer mask once more. That's what my layer mask actually looks like. You can see these bits of grey, that's where I was painting with black at an opacity of 8% or 15%. So I could gradually affect the opacity of this layer. Click back on the actual layer itself, and there's the final result.